Hey guys, it's Wednesday, February 1st, and this is Newswave. So our first bit of news comes from Horizon Zero Dawn. It has gone gold, which means it is done, development is finished, and I don't think that's surprising to anyone since it comes out technically on the 28th of this month now, and a lot of people are looking forward to it. I know I am. There's been a lot of gameplay starting to come out as well online, but it's gold. It's going to be shipping probably in the next couple weeks. You'll start to see it be probably leaked also, unfortunately, but it's going to be shipping in the next couple weeks. Retail stores will probably have it a couple days before release, so it's done, it's gone gold, and we should get it on the 28th with no delays. The next bit of news is kind of interesting. It's not really something most of us would have expected. Resident Evil 7, while being interesting to a lot of people online, a lot of people saying it's great to go back to how Resident Evil used to be, a more scary horror type game, has not done well with investors, apparently. So Capcom announced that 2.5 million copies, or units you want to call them, have been shipped to stores for Resident Evil 7, which is a good number for most people, except the way it works in business, I've told you before, you have to compare to previous sales of different things. In this case, it would be previous sales of Resident Evil games. And unfortunately for Capcom, 2.5 million does not at all compare to Resident Evil 5 or Resident Evil 6 in terms of sales for units, because Resident Evil 5 shipped 4 million and Resident Evil 6 shipped 4.5 million in its first week. And this has kind of left investors kind of scrambling, selling stock. Capcom stock has gone from like a peak here, and it's just been like a slow down slope of people just selling off stock because, of course, you're hitting the emergency eject button because sales are not as good as they should have been in their eyes because it does not match previous generations of games. What they fail to realize here, though, is a couple things. One, Resident Evil 7 allegedly did not take as much money to make, so I'm sure that they will end up profiting more from it in the end. And it does look like that is going to be a game that will have some legs to it in the future, as people probably buy it when it goes on sale. The thing about Resident Evil 7 compared to other ones is it may not appeal to the same amount of people because it is a straight-up horror game instead of like a run-and-gun style game that Resident Evil 5 and 6 were getting closer to, where you were just shooting hordes of zombies for the most part. Now, it didn't get out of hand like Left 4 Dead or anything, but it was definitely more action-y as they got into 5 and 6 as opposed to, say, Resident Evil 1 or 2. There's also the argument that Let's Players may have been damaging Resident Evil 7 sales, since you can pretty much watch someone play it and get very similar effect as opposed to having to go buy it and do more of the shooting and everything on your own. You can kind of watch a Let's Player play through it and get the same horror experience. Now, if you're into VR, you would obviously have to buy your own game because VR you can't experience in any way other than putting the headset on. Either way, I think this is just investor overreacting here, just all the investors selling off just because, oh no, the initial sales weren't good, although I think Resident Evil 7 will continue to sell okay as we go forward through the year, and it may end up reaching Resident Evil 5 or 6 sales as it goes on sale for less money. And EA had a big quarterly financial conference call with all their investors and everything, and they went over a lot of stuff. They went over a ton of games, which they've talked about that I'll talk to you guys about soon, but they also went over the new Battlefront and what that was going to include. Now, the person in charge of the call that was going over everything with investors was Chief Executive Officer Andrew Wilson, and he had some big things to say about Battlefront, including it having a full single-player campaign. He also went on to say things like it'll have more locations, more game modes, more arrows, more ships, and on, as basically saying, hey, it's going to be much bigger than the first one with a lot more stuff to do. So don't worry, it's not going to be just an online-only game where you just play online and then it dies out after a little while, which the first one kind of has at this point. In the same conference call, they also went on to talk about a new IP, or intellectual property, that BioWare is working on, quoting it as more of an adventure-style game rather than an RPG. They announced that a new Need for Speed game is showing up fiscal year 2018, which would put it sometime before March 31st of 2018. I'll expect it probably around there, February or March. And of course, they went ahead and talked about how there's going to be a new FIFA, a new NHL, and even a new UFC game. So they kind of laid their cards on the table of investors saying, hey, look, this is our plans going forward. These are all the games we're going to do. And they look pretty basic, except for this new IP from BioWare that has me a little interested to see where they're going with that. And yesterday, we had a big event in Tokyo where they kicked off the 30th anniversary for Final Fantasy, just telling us about a bunch of things coming out. Mostly they told us the release dates for Final Fantasy XII that's coming to the PS4. Remember, that's the big remake. And then they're also telling us different things about Final Fantasy VII Remake that we've already known, but they did give us a new screenshot to check out. So Final Fantasy XII Zodiac Age is coming out July 11th for the PS4. And of course that, like I said, is the new remake for Final Fantasy XII. If you have not seen any of the footage, I would check it out. It's very cool looking. If you're a fan of Final Fantasy XII, it's probably worth picking up for the PS4. Now, Final Fantasy XII Zodiac Age is going to have things like, obviously, high definition graphics that are remastered for the PS4. They're also adding in the Japanese-only job system that if you were in Japan, you'd get, but here in the West, you would not have that. So if you're looking to maybe add another Final Fantasy game to your PS4 library, it's worth getting. Or maybe if you missed Final Fantasy XII, it's worth picking up. Again, that's July 11th. And they decided to hit us with more artwork for Final Fantasy VII Remake. Not any gameplay or anything, but they wanted to show us a awesome looking screenshot, I guess, just to get us foaming at the mouth for this game. But check this screenshot out. It looks awesome. It shows Cloud with his back to Sephiroth all the way in the background with like the big angel wings going on. And man, this looks great. I don't know when this game's coming out. I assume it's not going to be this year. If they're not even ready to show us gameplay now, it's going to be a while. I hope we see gameplay at E3, but still, if we don't see any gameplay then, we definitely won't see it until 2018. And pretty much to tease us, they also decided to give us a little Kingdom Hearts 3 screenshot that was over on the Kingdom Hearts Twitter. Now, of course, they are celebrating Final Fantasy VII's 20th anniversary because that actually was yesterday. They had Final Fantasy VII's big anniversary, and it was to celebrate 20 years. So Kingdom Hearts decided, hey, let's put something up from Kingdom Hearts 3 just as a little tribute to them. So they do that. They put a happy Final 20th anniversary, Final Fantasy VII in the top left, and of course, you see Sora with his back to the camera looking up. And yes, the game does still look good for Kingdom Hearts 3. I think we just want to see it release already. So I want to show you guys something really cool real quick. This is actually from a YouTuber by the name of Rikonomi, and it's very cool. They remake a lot of the older like game intro scenes in more modern, like 1080p, 60 frames, and they changed the visuals and everything. And this caught my eye because it's actually a remake of the Mega Man X intro. You're going to see some of it here. I'll show you some clips of it. I would go check it out. I'll put a link down in the description below for you guys, but they do other ones too, like Metal Slug, different intros that are kind of retro. It's just really neat, and if you're a fan of them, it's worth checking out. Like I said, they're just the intros, so they're like 3 or 4 minutes long, but very cool to see someone get creative and do this. And Nintendo released their big financial report from last year, and it did show that they made more money this past year than the year prior, sold more 3DSs, everything was good, but they did tell us that Animal Crossing is actually, the mobile game is actually being pushed back. So what happened is they wanted to move Animal Crossing more to its own time slot because they are, of course, releasing Mario Run in March. Before that, in February, you have Fire Emblem coming out. And then, of course, the Switch itself launches in March, so they want to push it back. They said it's going to come out next fiscal year, which does start on April 1st. So anytime after April 1st, there is a chance to see Animal Crossing at least released. It'll probably get its own Nintendo Direct, maybe. Or maybe they'll just announce it that it's coming out in so many weeks. So it's a shame because a lot of people look forward to this. It has been delayed before, so it's just another delay. Again, I don't think it's for any other reason than to give it its own time slot to get lost in the shuffle. And it looks like the Wii U has finally reached the end of its production. Nintendo is now halting production and is completely finished with it globally. I don't think this is a surprise. The Switch is coming out in March, and this is reported by Kotaku. It was shown up now on Nintendo's Japan website. It's still in Japanese, you can translate it, but it basically says that they are done shipping Wii U's globally. The production is finished. They have to move full steam ahead on the Switch. You know, it's just the end of the Wii U era, I guess, officially, and now it's time to move on to the Switch. And that's going to do it for Newswave today, guys. Make sure you comment, like, subscribe, all that good stuff. Let me know in the description what you think of all the stuff we talked about today, including Final Fantasy VII, 12, the Kingdom Hearts 3 game that's eventually coming out someday, I guess. Maybe you're excited for Horizon Zero Dawn, or maybe you have some memories about the Wii U that you wanted to share since production has now officially ended. Let me know down below, guys, and I will see you next time.